Viewers, several cities across India are being hit by the ongoing LPG shortage crisis, and Lucknow is no exception. Long queues can be seen outside LPG distribution centers as people wait for their turn to get a gas cylinder. Viewers, the lines stretch for hours with people from all walks of life standing patiently in the hope of getting their supply. With no immediate increase in cylinder availability, there appears to be a little relief in sight. People have been queuing up since as early as 6 a.m. in the morning, with more than 100 consumers waiting in a single line outside distribution centers. Viewers, even before the shutters open, residents gather outside the centers and continue waiting for hours until distribution begins. From elderly women to daily wage workers, people from different backgrounds can be seen standing in line, hoping they will finally get their LPG cylinder. Viewers, here's a ground report by my colleague Abhijit Thakur. Take a look. Well, viewers, right now I am being joined by my colleague from Lucknow, Abhijit Thakur. Abhijit, क्या परिस्थिति है इस समय लखनऊ में, क्योंकि पूरे देश भर में ये देखा जा रहा है कि लंबी कतारें हैं, लोग घंटों से जो है वो लाइन में लगे हुए हैं कि उनको सिलेंडर मिल जाए।
फिलहाल सुधार की गुंजाइश तो नहीं दिखाई दे रही है, संख्या आज कुछ कम जरूर लग रही है। सिलेंडर की आपूर्ति में बढ़ोतरी नहीं हुई है, इंतजार है और इसी तरीके की लाइनें जो है वो लगी हुई आपको दिखाई देंगी। तो इंतजार के साथ साथ यहाँ पर कमी जो है सिलेंडर की वो साफ साफ नजर आ रही है, क्योंकि आप यहाँ पर संख्या देखिए, सुबह से लोग 6 बजे से यहाँ पर खड़े हैं और ये 100 से ज़्यादा लोगों की संख्या एक काउंटर पर, जहाँ पर डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पॉइंट है, वहाँ पर आपको दिखाई दे रही है। और इस तरीके के 85 डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पॉइंट्स जो है वो लखनऊ शहर के भीतर मौजूद है। जहाँ भी हम जाते हैं वहाँ पर तस्वीरें जो है वो कमोबेश ऐसी ही दिखाई देती हैं। और सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि अभी तो ये शुरुआत भी नहीं हुई है। सामने की तस्वीर दिखाएंगे अगर आपको, तो शटर बंद है, अभी तो शटर खुला भी नहीं है। तभी लोग यहाँ पर सुबह 6 बजे से लाइनों में खड़े हैं, अपनी बारी का इंतजार कर रहे हैं। एक बार डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन शुरू होगा, उसके बाद बारी बारी करके लोगों को सिलेंडर मिलना शुरू होगा। तो ये रोज की एक तरीके से कसरत हो गई है लोगों के लिए, जब से ये गैस की किल्लत शुरू हुई है, आपूर्ति में कमी हुई है। और वो साफ साफ ग्राउंड जीरो पर जो वास्तविकता है वही दिखाई देती है। आप देख सकते हैं कि बुजुर्ग महिलाएं हैं जो कि लाइन में खड़ी हैं, अपने पर्चियां लेकर, पेपर लेकर
खड़े हैं।
हाँ जी,
रोजा रख के खड़े, परेशान और सुबह से।
अच्छा।
हाँ, सुबह 6 बजे से आके खड़े हुए।
लेकिन 6 बजे से क्यों हुई? अगर 10 बजे से
ये नंबर नहीं लगेगा, आखिरी में मिलेगा नहीं, 40 हो जाएंगे तो मिलेगा भी नहीं।
अम्मा आप बताइए कितनी देर से आप
हम 7:30 बजे आए।
अच्छा,
हाँ,
बहुत परेशानी है।
तो परेशानी नहीं है, धूप में बैठे हैं, कल के पर्ची कटा है। हाँ।
धन्यवाद अभिजीत ठाकुर हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। व्यूअर्स, दैट वाज अभिजीत ठाकुर, माय कलीग फ्रॉम लखनऊ, गिविंग अस अ ग्राउंड रिपोर्ट फ्रॉम द current situation in Lucknow because of the gas crisis. Now viewers, moving on, amid concerns over LPG supply, Kerala is set to seek a higher quota of non-domestic LPG cylinders from the centre. A high-level meeting chaired by Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan decided to take urgent steps to address the shortage of LPG cylinders meant for commercial and non-domestic use in the state. Viewers, during the meeting, the state government decided to formally request the central government to increase the quota of non-domestic LPG cylinders allotted to Kerala. At present, the limit for such cylinders stands at 20%. However, citing the presence of a large number of migrant workers and rising demand, the state plans to seek a higher allocation. Viewers, amid the ongoing LPG crisis in the country, officials in Karnataka have launched a crackdown on the illegal use of domestic gas cylinders in commercial establishment. Viewers, in Yadgiri, authorities from the Food and Civil Supplies Department conducted a major raid on several hotels to prevent hoarding and misuse of LPG. Viewers, during the operation, officials seized 46 domestic LPG cylinders and that were allegedly being used illegally for commercial purposes. Authorities say the raids are part of a wider effort to ensure proper supply of cooking gas and prevent diversion of subsidized cylinders meant for households. Was amid the ongoing LPG crisis in the country, the officials in Karnataka have launched a crackdown on the illegal use of domestic gas cylinders in commercial establishment. Viewers, you can see on your screen that the authorities from the Food and Civil Supplies Department conducted a major raid on several hotels to prevent hoarding and misuse of LPG. Now, viewers, during the operation, the officials have seized 46 domestic LPG cylinders that were allegedly being used illegally for commercial purposes. Now, the authorities say the raids are part of a wider effort to ensure proper supply of cooking gas and prevent diversion of subsidized cylinders meant for households. Viewers, meanwhile, raids against the illegal use of domestic LPG cylinders for commercial purposes are also being carried out in other parts of the country. Now, in Madhya Pradesh, Chhatarpur district, authorities seized 38 LPG cylinders during the raids conducted over 2 days in the Bundelkhand region. Now, viewers, according to officials, a joint team from the Revenue and Food Department seized 13 LPG cylinders from a water plant in Bilhari village in the Nagaon area. Now, officials say the cylinders were stored illegally and were being traded for commercial use. The raid was conducted under the supervision of Sub-Divisional Magistrate following instruction from in-charge District Collector. Now, viewers, in another raid, officials seized 25 LPG cylinders from a house in Vishwanath Colony in Chhatarpur town. Now, according to the District Food Commissioner, a team comprising the local Tehsildar, Naib Tehsildar and a food inspector raided the house and seized 25 cylinders, including 22 empty ones. Legal action has been initiated against the accused under the Petroleum Act. Viewers, long queues of citizens seen in Malgi Nagar in Nagpur for gas cylinders. Now, even before the gas agency opened, a large number of people lined up to collect cylinders. Now, long queues are being witnessed in several parts of the city. The administration has repeatedly stated that there is no shortage of gas cylinders, yet concerns among people persist and crowds continue to gather outside agencies. Now, viewers, in fact, despite cylinders being available, citizens are facing difficulties with online booking as well. Now, without an OTP, cylinders cannot be delivered to homes. Because of this issue, many residents, out of concern, are personally visiting gas agencies and standing in queues to collect cylinders themselves. Now, viewers, long queues of citizens, as you can see on the visuals in the screen from Malgi Nagar in Nagpur for gas cylinders. Now, viewers, even before the gas agency opened, large number of people lined up to collect these cylinders. Now, The long queues are being witnessed in several parts of the city. Now, the administration has repeatedly stated that there is no shortage of gas cylinders, yet concerns among people persist and crowds continue to gather outside agencies. Now, viewers, despite cylinders being available, the citizens are also facing difficulties with online booking. Now, without an OTP, cylinders cannot be delivered to homes. And because of this issue, many residents out of concern are personally visiting gas agencies and standing in long queues, as you can see on the visuals, to collect the cylinders themselves. Viewers, a shortage of cooking gas has triggered chaos in Barabanki, where people waiting for LPG cylinders ended up clashing outside a gas agency itself. Now, the incident took place outside Amit Gas Agency, where an argument reportedly broke out between two men over their position in the queue for cylinders. Viewers, the verbal dispute quickly escalated into a physical fight, with people exchanging punches as others tried to intervene. Now, a video of the scuffle has since gone viral on social media. Viewers, the clash highlights the growing panic in the district, where nearly 6.75 lakh LPG consumers depending on 1,000 cylinders are being distributed every day. But many residents say they are still unable to get deliveries even weeks after booking. Viewers, the shortage is also affecting businesses, with several small hotels and restaurants in the district nearing closure due to the lack of LPG. However, District Supply Officer Rakesh Kumar Tiwari says there is no actual shortage of gas and that rumors have triggered panic buying. Viewers, restaurants around Kolkata are grappling with a severe shortage of commercial LPG cylinders, forcing several eateries to cut down on menu items, raise prices and even consider temporary closures. Now, many restaurants have also begun shifting to wood-fire ovens to cope with the ongoing supply crisis. Now, the disruption follows the recent escalation in West Asia, which has affected LPG imports into India. Now, industry bodies have warned that the shortage could threaten the survival of many food businesses if the situation does not improve soon. Restaurants rely heavily on LPG for large-scale cooking, and alternatives such as induction cookers are not practical for many dishes. Meanwhile, several well-known eateries in the city have begun adjusting their kitchen operations. One of the restaurant owner may have to tweak menu options if LPG supplies remain irregular, though some establishments are trying to maintain full operations despite the challenges. Now, viewers, many popular outlets have already started using wood-fired ovens to continue cooking. They have been forced to cut down on certain milk-based items that require long hours of cooking due to the limited LPG supply. Now, viewers, the restaurants across Kolkata are grappling with severe shortage of commercial LPG cylinders, forcing several eateries to cut down on menu items and raising prices and even considering temporary closures. Now, many restaurants have already begun shifting to wood-fired ovens to cope with the ongoing supply crisis. Now, viewers, the disruption follows the recent escalation in West Asia, which has affected LPG imports into India. Now, the industry bodies have also warned that the shortage could threaten the survival of many food businesses if the situation does not improve soon. Now, viewers, restaurants rely heavily on LPG for large-scale cooking, and alternatives such as induction cookers are not practical for many dishes. Meanwhile, several well-known eateries in the city have begun adjusting their kitchen operations. One of the restaurant owner may have to tweak menu options if LPG supplies remain irregular, though some establishments are trying to maintain full operations despite the challenges. Many popular outlets have started using wood-fired ovens to continue their cooking. Now, they have been forced to cut down on certain milk-based items that require long hours of cooking due to the limited LPG supply. Now, moving on to the national capital, in Jhandewala, residents say they have been visiting LPG agencies for the past 2 days, but they are unable to get a gas cylinder. Now, viewers, several consumers claim that despite waiting in long queues since the early hours of the morning, they are being asked to return home as cylinders are not available. Now, some people also allege that cylinders are being sold in the black market for as much as 3,000, far above the regular price. Now, many residents say they have came to the agency yesterday, but the office did not open. Now, people from different parts of the national capital have been arriving at the distribution center as early as 6 a.m. hoping to secure a cylinder. Now, viewers, here's a ground report by my colleague Vivek Sharma. Let's take a look.
ईरान और इजरायल के युद्ध के चलते मिडिल ईस्ट में तनाव है, जिसका असर हिंदुस्तान में भी देखने को मिल रहा है। कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं जो कि एलपीजी गैस सिलेंडर के लिए एजेंसियों के बाहर लाइन लगाए हुए नजर आ रहे हैं। इस वक्त मौजूद है राजधानी दिल्ली के झंडेवाला इलाके में, जहां तस्वीरों में देख सकते हैं कि काफी तादाद में लोग जो है वो यहाँ सुबह से ही लाइन लगाए हुए नजर आ रहे हैं। हाथ में खाली सिलेंडर जो है वो आपको नजर आएगा। यहाँ पर लोग पहुंचे हुए हैं। कई लोग ऐसे हैं जिनकी ये शिकायत है कि वो लगातार 2 दिनों से एजेंसी के बाहर आ रहे हैं, लेकिन उन्हें सिलेंडर नहीं मिल रहा है। लोगों से बातचीत करते हैं और जानते हैं कि आखिरकार उन्हें किस तरह की परेशानियों का सामना करना पड़ रहा है। किस तरह की दिक्कतें आपको हो रही है?
बहुत दिक्कतें हो रही है, सब चीज की दिक्कत है। राखी बना बहुत चीज की दिक्कत है हमारे को, तो चाय की, पानी की, रोटी की, सब चीज की है। चूल्हे पे चाय बना रहे, चूल्हे पे सब्जी बना रहे। 3-3 हजार का ब्लैक हो रहा है, कहाँ से खरीदेगा गरीब इंसान 3 हजार का सिलेंडर। इस मारे हम तो यहीं लेने में 3 दिन से लग रहे हैं, पर 3 दिन से वापिस ही जा रहे हैं घर।
एजेंसी वाले कुछ कह रहे हैं आपको?
कुछ नहीं कह रहे, घर पे बैठ के बुक करो, घर पे बैठ के बुक करो।
आपको
सारी परेशानी, लकड़ी भी नहीं मिल रही। चलो भाई लकड़ी में बना के खा ले।
गैस सिलेंडर बिल्कुल खत्म हो चुका है।
हाँ, बिल्कुल ही नहीं है, बिल्कुल खाली पड़े।
बाहर भी नहीं, महंगा मिल रहा है खाना बाहर। 50 के 200 रुपए खर्चने पड़ रहे हैं एक बंदे के। कैसे करेंगे बताओ आप? हम 4 दिन हो गए, चौथा दिन है लेने के लिए सिलेंडर। आज ही आए, आज भी पता नहीं मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा।
एजेंसी खुली कल?
एजेंसी नहीं खुली कल गाड़ी भी नहीं आई है। आज का पता नहीं गाड़ी आई है नहीं आई है। बताओ क्या करें सर? क्या तो रहे हैं आई है, मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा ये हमें नहीं पता। उम्मीद का भी कुछ नहीं है जी। देखो
आप कब से यहाँ पे खड़े हैं?
हम 6 बजे से खड़े हैं और कल तो बंद ही था, कल खोला नहीं इन्होंने। और आज भी गाड़ी आई है, लेकिन पता नहीं मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा।
कोई जवाब मिला
नहीं पता।
आप सर कहाँ से आए हैं?
हम लोग पाड़गंज से आए हैं। हम तो यहाँ तो 2-3 दिन से आ रहे हैं, जब से दिक्कत शुरू हुई है।
सुबह 6 बजे के लाइन,
और सुबह 6 बजे के लाइन में लगे हुए हैं। अब क्या करें, जब ये खुलेगा ही नहीं तो हमारे को अपडेट क्या मिलेगा? कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा। हम किसको बोले? लाइन में खड़े होने के अलावा और कोई चारा नहीं है हमारा।
सिलेंडर बिल्कुल भी नहीं है।
सिलेंडर है ही नहीं, तभी तो खड़े हैं जी। बिल्कुल है ही नहीं सिलेंडर। कल भी हमने बाजार से खाना खाया, अब रोज की रोज बाजार से खाना खाएंगे तो क्या होगा, तबीयतें खराब होंगी हमारी।
आपको किस तरह की दिक्कतें हो रही है?
भैया जी 2 दिन हो गए यहाँ पे आते आते, ना फोन पे बुकिंग हो रही है, ना एजेंसी खुल रही हैगी। कोई ना फोन पे करते हैं, फोन वाला फोन नहीं उठाते। एजेंसी खुली नहीं रही है 2 दिन से। मम्मी आई, वो परेशान होकर के गई, मैं आया, मैं परेशान हो रहा हूँ। यहाँ पे लकड़ियाँ फाड़ करके जब चूल्हा जला रहे हैं, अब बताइए। अभी भी पता नहीं कह रहे हैं कि बुकिंग होगी या नहीं होगी।
देख सकते हैं तस्वीरों में कि काफी तादाद में लोग जो हैं वो यहाँ पे लाइन लगाए हुए आपको खड़े नजर आएंगे।
Now viewers, that was the report by my colleague Vivek Sharma, who was giving us the ground situation from Jhandewala, where people have been claiming that they have to give 3,000 rupees to buy the gas cylinders in black, and for days they have been standing, but they are not getting any sort of relief. Now viewers, moving on, as tensions rise in the Strait of Hormuz, the big question for India is simple. How vulnerable are the energy supplies? Now the answer lies in the numbers. A significant portion of India's LNG and LPG imports pass through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical energy checkpoints. Now nearly 60% of India's LPG demand is met through imports, and about 90% of those shipments transit this very route. Now so many disruption here has the potential to push crude prices higher, increase shipping risk, and also tighten supply chains. Now, however, the government says there is no immediate cause for panic.
You know that we import almost 60% of our LPG, and most of it, almost 90%, comes from Strait of Hormuz. So it's a difficult situation, but the government is making all efforts to ensure that the supply to the domestic consumers is ensured. As I already said, that the refining LPG production in the refinery has enhanced. We have almost 25,000 distributors throughout the country, and we deliver almost 50 lakh cylinders on daily basis. On the distribution side also, no dry out has been reported, but there is a manifold increase in the booking because of the panic. We urge the citizens to avoid panic booking, and all efforts have to be made to conserve the fuel wherever possible during this period of global uncertainty.
Viewers, officials have assured that India's domestic production capacity and diversified import sources provide a cushion, and that efforts are underway to ensure uninterrupted LPG supply to households. The government has also asked citizens not to panic buy cylinders, even as bookings have risen sharply amid global uncertainty. Now, to maintain supply stability, coal allocations to states are being increased, alternate fuel options are being activated, and priority supplies are being ensured for hospitals and essential services. Meanwhile, the Petroleum Ministry says domestic LNG production is being maximized to reduce pressure on imports. Viewers, government says India's strategic oil reserves and diversification of energy imports across 40 supplier countries have transformed its capacity to absorb global energy shocks. And this resilience has ensured that there is no energy crisis due to the disruption caused by the Iran war.
India's crude supply position is secure and volumes secured exceed what Hormuz would have delivered. Before the crisis, approximately 45% of India's crude imports transited through the Hormuz route. Thanks to the Honorable Prime Minister's outstanding diplomatic outreach and goodwill, India has secured crude volumes that exceed what the disrupted Strait of Hormuz could have delivered in the same period. Non-Hormuz sourcing has risen to approximately 70% of crude imports, up from 55% before the conflict began. India sources crude from 40 countries as against 27 in 2006 and 7. This structural diversification, built through sustained policy over successive years, has given us options that other nations find themselves without. Refineries are operating at high capacity utilization. In several cases, they are exceeding 100%. There is no shortage of petrol, diesel, kerosene, ATF or fuel oil. The availability of petrol, diesel, aviation, turbine fuel, kerosene and fuel oil is fully assured. Retail outlets across the country are stocked and supply chains for these products are functioning normally. Additional allocation of PDS kerosene has been issued to all the states. Natural gas supply has been managed through prioritized allocation and the position is stable, well beyond immediate need. India produces approximately 90 million metric standard cubic meters per day of natural gas domestically. A further 30 million metric standard cubic meters per day was previously imported through Gulf sources, now affected by the force majeure declaration of a major Qatari processing facility. The force majeure declaration, the Natural Gas Control Order issued on 9th March 2026 under the Essential Commodities Act established an immediate priority sequence. Domestic pipe gas goes to home and CNG for vehicles receives 100% supply with no cuts. Industrial and manufacturing consumers will receive upon 80% of their previous 6 months average.
As a temporary demand management measure, the minimum gap between LPG booking has been increased from 21 days to 25 days. At field level, OMC officers and anti-adulteration cell are coordinating enforcement to clear distributor backlog and ensure smooth delivery. अंत में मैं ये कहना चाहूँगी कि ये एक वैश्विक चुनौतीपूर्ण स्थिति है, लेकिन भारत की ईंधन आपूर्ति नियंत्रण में है। सरकार स्थिति पर लगातार नजर रख रही है और घरों और प्राथमिकता वाले क्षेत्रों की सुरक्षा के लिए आवश्यक कदम उठा रही है। हम नागरिकों से आग्रह करते हैं कि वे घबराकर बुकिंग करने से बचें, अधिकारियों के साथ सहयोग करें और वैश्विक अनिश्चितता की इस अवधि के दौरान जहां संभव हो ईंधन का संरक्षण करें।
LPG crisis has hit several states across the country, and India is experiencing a severe LPG shortage because more than half of its imports, mainly via the Strait of Hormuz, have been disrupted by the conflict in West Asia. Now, in response, the government has also increased the domestic production, but as we can see in the visuals coming in from Noida, Mumbai, Bhopal, Lucknow, Delhi and Nagpur, where people standing in long queues for several hours. In fact, here in the Noida, people started standing in queue from 3 AM in the morning, and a lot of the people have to go empty-handed because of not getting the cylinders. Now, this has been the situation across several states in the country, where because of the ongoing conflict, there has been a shortage in the LPG supply and people have to stand and wait in long queues to get their LPG cylinders, and despite standing for around 6 to 7 hours, they go home empty-handed without getting the cylinders. So definitely the people of the country are suffering because of the shortage of LPG, and the government on one hand has said that they are trying to make sure that people get their cylinders as soon as possible, because in several states The state government also has formed respective committee to make sure that there is no cylinders, domestic cylinders which are used for commercial uses.